Thank you. Well, good morning and welcome to the 2012 University Convocation. You know, despite state-imposed fiscal difficulties and uncertainties, Cal State Fullerton remains a vibrant and forward-looking institution, thanks in large part to you, our dedicated and committed administrators, faculty, and staff. We thank you for your efforts. I'd also like to recognize and thank our distinguished guests that are here today, including members of the CSUF Philanthropic Board, the CSUF Alumni Association, and our many friends, supporters, and community members who are seated at the back of the concert hall. Thanks for all you do. It's now my pleasure to introduce to you President Mildred García, who will give her first Cal State Fullerton Convocation address. President García joined us a short 3 months ago this past June, succeeding President Milton A. Gordon, and she has brought to the campus a strong work ethic and new energetic leadership. As most of you know, President García previously served as the president at Cal State Dominguez Hills, where in 2007 she was appointed the first Latina president in the CSU. Prior to her tenure at Dominguez Hills, President García served for 7 years as president of Berkeley College in New York and New Jersey. She also has held positions at Arizona State University, Montclair State University, and in the Hostos and LaGuardia community colleges of the City University of New York. President García comes to Fullerton with considerable experience as a faculty member during her pre-presidential days. She's highly regarded for her scholarly work in the areas of equity in higher education policy and practice. President García is known for her commitment to multicultural alliances and is a much sought-after speaker at national and international conferences on this and other related topics. President García currently serves on President Obama's Commission on Educational Excellence for Hispanics, was selected to the U.S. Committee on Measures of Student Success, and is a member of numerous boards and panels addressing higher education issues. She earned her Doctor of Education degree and a Master of Arts in Higher Education Administration from Teachers College, Columbia University, a master's degree in business education, higher education from New York University, and her bachelor's degree from the University of New York's Baruch College. Please join me in welcoming to the podium President Mildred García, California State University's 5th CSU Board of Trustees appointed president.
Good morning. Good morning, buenos dias. Happy new academic year. Thank you for joining me in my first convocation address as your president at CSU Fullerton. I want to begin by publicly thanking all of you for embracing me with your warm welcomes. Today marks my 3rd month as the 5th Board of Trustees appointed president of CSU Fullerton, and I can share with you that it has been uplifting, educational, fun, and yes, stressful, as we discuss the financial situation in the state and nation and how it affects our university and ultimately all of you, including, most importantly, the reason we are all here, our students. Before I begin my address, I would like to take a moment to remember a tragic day in the nation's history, 9/11. In our own way, many of us are reflecting and remembering. I was in New York City and president for 4 days at Berkeley College when I lost 14 of our students who were doing internships and the husband of one of our faculty members who was on that Pennsylvania flight. Let's remember this loss of our innocent citizens and heroes with a moment of silence. Thank you. It has been a very busy summer. Since my arrival on June 11th, I have learned so much about Titan pride and culture, and I will continue listening and learning. In my first week, a survey was sent to faculty, staff, students, administrators, and the external community to receive input and hear their voices. We got more than 2,000 responses. And I want to thank Dr. Ed Sullivan, Institutional Research, for providing the analysis to the survey. And contrary to some of those who provided written comments, questioning if I would read those written remarks, I can share that I read every single one of them. I have met with faculty, students, staff, administrators, legislators, members of our Board of Trustees, alumni, the Philanthropic Foundation, and other external communities. I want to recognize some very distinguished guests who are here today. Please join me in welcoming President Emeritus Mildred Gordon, CSU Trust, that's right. CSU Trustee Henry Mendoza, Members of the Fullerton Philanthropic Foundation Board, including their chair, Doug Samau, who also served on the Chancellor's Committee for the selection of Fullerton's president. President of our Alumni Association, Teresa Harvey, who is also the president and CEO of the Fullerton Chamber of Commerce. As well as so many other guests from our communities. It means a great deal to all of us that you are here today, and I thank you for joining us. Also this year, we are pleased to welcome new faculty, new staff, and the largest fall enrollment ever in Fullerton's history, 37,678 students. Will the new faculty, if you're here, please stand and be recognized? Are you here? Will the staff, new staff, stand and be recognized? And of course, I would like to welcome all students and members of ASI. I also want to recognize a newly appointed Vice President for Student Affairs, Dr. Berenicia Johnson Ames. We are pleased that you have all joined the Titan family. You know, as a child, I always looked forward to the beginning of the academic school year. My parents would buy us our new school supplies and back-to-school outfits. I clearly remember getting my new notebooks and pencils. Do you remember those compositions books with black and white on the front cover, those black and white spots? And yes, I continue in that tradition of buying a new back-to-school outfit every year. And this year, specifically looked for our wonderful blue and white university colors. And while I love orange, I am told it isn't officially part of the Cal State Fullerton colors. You know, I still remember those days vividly. Memories of going down to the Lower East Side in New York City on Delancey Street. My dad negotiating with Jewish merchants for our new clothes. We were 7. Lunch at Kat's Jewish Deli, eating pastrami, roast beef, corned beef sandwiches, and knishes with root beer and cream sodas. As a family, it was our way of marking the end of our summer and the start of the school year. The night before school started, there were always butterflies in my stomach. I was excited about seeing old friends and meeting new ones, clutching my notebook and pencils, and eager to wear my new outfit, and yet anxious about the new teachers I would meet and the new learning I was ready to embark upon. Well, I will share with you that the butterflies continue in my stomach. I am excited about the new journey. walking alongside all of you, beginning a new chapter in Fullerton's solid history, and to move CSU Fullerton to even higher heights. And yes, I will admit to you that there are some sleepless nights about the enormous fiscal challenges this state is confronting and addressing the WASP letter requirements. But one thing I know for sure, Fullerton is strong. And together we will set our new directions, manage the fiscal crisis, providing evidence of our success to our external audiences, and continuing to be successful in educating the diverse student body that enters our door, and we have the honor to educate. Last January, when I visited with you upon the announcement of my appointment, I shared with you my belief that everyone working at a university is an educator, faculty, staff, and administrators, together ensuring that we are providing the best educational experience for every student. I also shared that my excitement stemmed from the fact that Fullerton has always been student-centered, embracing our students, setting high academic standards, and helping our students reach them, and then applauding and celebrating with them as they graduate and become successful global citizens and engaged alumni. I commit myself to working with you as your servant leader to ensure that we continue to aspire to be the premier comprehensive public university of our nation. One faculty respondent to the survey shared it this way, and I quote, "I often think of Cal State Fullerton as a hidden gem. We do not get the notoriety we deserve, but we provide a high-quality education at a reasonable cost. I also admire the ability to get involved, whether that be a student, faculty, or staff. I am a parent of an alumnus, as well as a faculty member, and I can attest to the opportunities that we provided to my daughter, as well as those available to me," unquote. This particular comment is representative of so many. This morning, I will discuss where we are currently regarding the state budget and its impact on Fullerton. Further, we will address our directions for this year as we face these enormous fiscal challenges. Okay, let's begin with the financial crisis. Since I arrived in California in 2007, our legislators and governor have disinvested in higher education. As a practicing scholar of higher education in this country, I learned about the history of higher education in the state of California. A leader in educating the citizens of this country and building an excellent model of public colleges and universities revered by everyone in the world. Once #1 in the nation in supporting higher education, 2008 data ranked the state of California last in total revenues per full-time equivalent student. I know I don't have to tell this audience how important higher education is to our nation. It is through higher education that we not only lift millions out of poverty into the middle class for themselves and the future generations of their families, but it is also the engine that catapults individuals to become our leaders, our scientists, our professionals, our innovators for our future. This investment should have families and the citizens in California up in arms, fighting back and saying, enough. This must stop. As Secretary of Education Duncan has stated, education has become the civil rights issue of our time. And I would add that we should be addressing this issue as forcefully as we did in the 60s and 70s, for those of us that are old enough to remember. Unfortunately, we are still looking at the possibility of more cuts. And I will describe for you as clearly as I can where we stand regarding our budget. The governor has signed a 2012-13 budget for the CSU that provides funding at the same level as 2011-12, but with a big if. The if will depend on whether the voters of California approve Proposition 30, the governor's initiative, on November 6th. If Prop 30 doesn't pass, the CSU will cut an additional $250 million, which we already cut $750 million, and our share of that $250 will be $20 million, plus an additional $4 million for increased health care. In preparation for those possible cuts, I have met with the current and previous chair of the Planning, Resource, and Budget Committee and carefully reviewed and accepted their recommendations for the 2012-13 budget, which is meant to ensure that CSU Fullerton continues to provide our students with an excellent academic foundation and superb student support services. The Cabinet held a budget retreat to address these potential cuts. Some good news. We are able to manage those cuts in the 2012-13 fiscal year with one-time monies because of CSU Fullerton's history of fiscal responsibility. But we have a structural deficit that must be addressed. One-time monies will not solve this beyond this year. The economic crisis, as well as the possibility of additional cuts in 13-14, requires us to plan for cuts to our baseline budget. That will require some difficult dialogues and decisions to be made across the campus using a holistic approach that best serves the entire university and our students. The budget details will be available at the University Budget Central webpage, and I encourage you to go there to learn more about the specifics of Proposition 30 and the proposed cuts to the CSU and Fullerton. I again want to thank the Fullerton community under President Gorton's leadership. I am deeply grateful and thankful of the prudent ways carry-forward dollars and reserves have been preserved. My commitment to you is that we will continue to keep the entire university informed of the budget situation as soon as we know it. Both I and Interim Vice President Barrett will be presenting the budget picture for our university at the Academic Senate and to our staff and faculty in other venues throughout our various divisions. We also will be engaging with the PRBC, which is the Planning, Budget, and Resource Committee. So those people that know, we lovingly call it PRBC, under the leadership of Dr. Bob Mead, who's teaching this morning, for their recommendations. After gaining so much knowledge from all of you, our external constituencies, the WASP report and letter, and the Board of Trustees, I have identified 3 areas of focus for the coming year that we will work together to build upon the solid Fullerton foundation. Number 1, setting our future horizons, completing the strategic plan. Number 2, ensuring student success. And number 3, promoting Titan pride, friend-raising and fundraising. While our budget situation is bleak, our future is shaped by the strength of this institution and by our willingness to come together to continue to constantly improve on our excellence. I have read Fullerton's documents. They sent me 2 big binders as I was preparing for the interviews. Read the institutional self-study for WASC. Attended the WASC team site visit last March on campus, and led the campus team that included Drs. Bedell, Murray, Trotter, and Abrego that visited with the WASC Commission panel in Oakland to discuss our visit and their impressions. I have walked across campus to visit and listen, met with the Executive Committee of the Academic Senate and small groups of faculty. I've listened to our Board of Trustees and the Cal State Fullerton Advisory Committee during the presidential selection process, and I took notes on their input as to the suggested focus for our institution into the future. And by the way, representatives from Cal State Fullerton on the Presidential Advisory Committee deserve a special thanks. They were tough, asking hard questions, and outstanding. And I want to thank Drs. Jack Bedell, Diana Guerin, Mark Hoven-Stowe, your ASI president last year, Eric New, Jacqueline Otis as a staff representative, Doug Samau, the chair of our philanthropic board, and Paul Carter, past president of the Alumni Association. Further, in addition to all of the voices with the WASP letter in hand, we held a senior administrators retreat in July that included the vice presidents, the academic deans, and my chief of staff. Out of this retreat, priorities were recommended that were discussed at the President's Advisory Board that includes the chair of the Academic Senate, chair of the PRBC, and president of ASI. And I, of course, had in my hand 2,000 plus survey responses that I spoke of earlier. So now let's turn to the three areas of focus for the year: setting our future horizons, the university strategic plan. I want to congratulate you on the seriousness with which you embarked on the university strategic planning process. We need to thank the PRBC, under the leadership of Dr. Carrie Cutson-Miller, and continued leadership under Dr. Bob Mead, for the progress they made last spring. We now are in the home stretch in sharpening and finalizing the strategic plan, which must provide us the roadmap, clearly focusing and defining who we are and who we want to become, given where we are today. Our WASP team report stated it clearly that it is now time for us to, and I quote, take the next much harder steps, specifying clear strategic priorities that will guide decision-making, and then use those priorities to make tough decisions about where scarce university resources should go and where they should not, unquote. Our WASP letter reaffirming our accreditation for 7 years that arrived on July 3rd supported the team's observation. The WASP Commission now expects us to take the next steps swiftly, and they state, and I quote, with the plan now in place, considerable work remains. These include setting priorities, establishing metrics and indicators of quality, achieving consistency across extant planning documents, and aligning the plan with budgetary allocations, unquote. The Executive Committee of the Academic Senate sent their recommendations regarding the university strategic plan on August 23rd, and I thank them for engaging in this very important university-wide initiative. They recommended, and I completely agree, that a facilitator is needed to help us move towards completing the strategic plan and providing the specificity outlined by the WASP Commission. I have selected Dr. Jolene Kestner, President Emeritus of CSU Northridge, to assist us in this initiative. Dr. Kestner is not only a former president of a large sister institution, but also is a scholar in the field of communications. Since 2007, she has served as a faculty member in the Institute for New Presidents and is now helping institutions in initiatives such as ours. She served as our facilitator for the Senior Administrators Retreat this summer, and all of us were extremely satisfied with the way she was informed, yet collegial, asking tough questions, and helping us move towards decisions and priorities. Our goal is to develop a completed strategic plan using a university-wide process. We will use the existing strategic plan draft as a foundation to develop a refined plan that guides and directs our decision-making and budget allocations, along with the articulation and support of a strategic position for the university's future, and finish by spring 2013. In order to do this, we must begin immediately. And so later this month, I will convene a newly constituted Strategic Planning Steering Committee with Drs. Bob Mead and Jenny Fowles serving as co-chairs, and Dr. Irene Matz as the on-site coordinator. Dr. Kestner will be visiting with many different groups on campus in advance of the town hall that is scheduled for Friday, October 12th. Put that on your calendars. I hope that you will attend, and please look for more details on this meeting. We will establish a website and other methods of communication to the campus community about the efforts to further improve the integrated strategic plan. There are many details on this process that will be available on the strategic plan website, and I urge you to take the time to review them. One faculty member shared the following, and I quote, "We have a real opportunity with the change in the presidency to create a greater sense of inclusion for faculty and staff members. Even though there are so many fine qualities that define this organization, many younger and newly arrived faculty feel excluded," unquote. It is so important that we provide opportunities for all voices to have input into this important work. Everyone's voice is essential to the success of developing a strategic plan for the university. No one should feel excluded, and I hope you please join us in making this work a collaborative, inclusive strategic plan. Enhancing student success. Without a doubt, enhancing student success has been and will continue to be one of our most important institutional priorities. It is evident that the Cal State Fullerton community is dedicated to student success. One alumnus survey response stated it this way, and I quote, "CSU Fullerton is an institution with the most engaged faculty that I've ever met. The faculty truly care about their students and work with their students when issues arise. The staff is just as caring and understanding. They make our life easier when you are trying to negotiate the academic road," unquote. Our student body comes from everywhere. We mirror the country's changing demographics, and we are that educational laboratory where students from different cultural and educational backgrounds and all walks of life enter our door. We embrace them, and we pledge to see them succeed. Enhancing student success begins when we recruit our students and continues until they graduate and become those wonderful alum. Every step along the way, we are all engaged in helping students achieve their educational goal. National studies on dropout and retention highlight that a large percentage of students drop out not only because of academic failure. In fact, many are in good academic standing when they leave, and it is because of other factors. We should know what those reasons are for those that are leaving us at Fullerton. Within our strategic plan goals, we proclaim that we will be the premier comprehensive public university in the state, and I'm going to change that to the nation. To reach that goal, we must address our retention and graduation rates, as well as document and provide evidence as to the quality of our student learning. As the largest CSU in the system, with a diverse student body and a faculty and staff second to none, we can be that model, comprehensive, premier institution that others look to in order to learn from us about success with a diverse student body, especially when it comes to student learning, retention, and graduation. For me, and for so many who provided comments in the survey, graduation is not only about raw numbers, it is also about the learning that occurs. One faculty member said, and I quote, "Fullerton has the opportunity to continue to stand as a beacon of cosmopolitan and scholarly openness in a time when provincialism and dogmatism seem to be growing. As I teach my classes on religion and humanities and social sciences, especially my class on religion and violence, I find students are very eager and even relieved to learn about the complex human world around them. So many are awakened to the benefits of being critically reflective citizen scholars. This seems to me to be a key feature of a university education in general, and of the humanities and social sciences in particular," unquote. At Fullerton, we understand that it is about student learning, both liberal learning and the professions together. Together, we are educating citizen scholars, graduates for our nation. At Fullerton, learning matters, and yes, graduation matters as well. Our intentions are sincere, and yet we have some work to do. Our WASP letter also underscores that while we have made some progress with the assessment of student learning, significant work remains in many areas, including the alignment of learning outcomes at all levels, the further development of comprehensive annual assessment reports and program performance reviews, the creation of a mechanism for tracking improvements in student learning, pedagogy, and sharing best practices in assessment, and continued coordination, monitoring, and support for institution-wide assessment. The WASP letter further expects us to advance student advising and improve graduation rates, and they state, and I quote, "The Commission noted with concern indications of continuing challenges in advisement, especially in general education, but also at the department level," unquote. I want to thank the Academic Affairs Division, led by Interim Provost Murray, and the Academic Senate, led by Dr. Bedell, for hosting the retreat on academic advising this summer. We have begun the work, and as I stated in my closing remarks at that retreat, I look forward to a report that identifies Fullerton's guiding principles on advising, documenting the university advising process, and providing detailed recommendations on how we build a comprehensive, consistent, cohesive, intentional advising process. As the WASP letter shares with us, we need a plan that provides an analysis of best practices from across the country, inventories the many places advising occurs on campus, and proposes a plan that creates closer connections between the colleges, the Academic Advising Center, and the Student Affairs Division. Truly understanding how advising will be strengthened at Fullerton will provide us the information necessary in order for the administration to determine adequate staffing and appropriate resources. Our most recent graduation rate report indicates that our overall 6-year graduation rates for first-time, full-time students has declined from 51% in 2010 to 50% in 2011. That means that 50% of our students are not graduating in 6 years. These percentages represent individual students, many stories. That's 1,910 students from the 2005 cohort that did not reach their academic goal in 6 years at Cal State Fullerton. Further, when we disaggregate the data, it is even more disturbing. The achievement gap of Latinos is 6% and African Americans 12% in that same period. And here, we're not even looking at graduation rates of our transfer students. We all know that students do not come to college to fail. We also know that we can't have a 100% graduation rate. However, when we look at institutions that are similar to us, we need to examine why our graduation rates shouldn't be higher. For example, the average graduation rates at the top 3 most similar comprehensive universities is approximately 65% compared to our 50% graduation rate. I know that we all agree that persistence and educational attainment rates and providing evidence of student learning must improve if Cal State Fullerton is to meet the needs of Orange County, California, and our nation. Our goal must be to improve student persistence, close the graduation gap, and increase graduation rates. And while we are talking about persistent graduation and student learning, allow me a moment to share my definition of a diverse community, and as Bill Tierney addresses in his research, the concept of building communities of difference. It is our responsibility to educate the citizens of California, and in particular, the citizens of Orange County. A look at the demographics in this country demonstrates how rapidly the demographics are changing in this region. Access to and graduation from the high-quality educational experience at Cal State Fullerton provides societal and individual transformation. Thus, engaging in true communities of difference like Fullerton challenges us to interact and include multiple perspectives, providing diverse interactions, shaping our future that we have yet to realize. Thus, for me, diversity includes everyone: European Americans, Latino, African Americans, Asian Pacific Islanders, individuals in our country, in our state, regardless of race, religion, class, and sexual orientation, equally engaged at the table and no group at the margins, ensuring that all voices have input to creating and sustaining the premier comprehensive university we aspire to be. Enhancing student success, thus, will be an institutional priority. I know that the academic affairs team has been focused on learning. Enhancing our student success rates and student learning is not possible without our superb faculty and the high standards and rigor they set for educating and graduating our students. The faculty are major, indispensable players in this formula. Research also tells us that student learning happens both inside and outside the classroom. Creating institutional environments that are perceived by students as inclusive and affirming are also critical to student success. Thus, every division and every person that works at Fullerton plays a role in student learning, retention, and graduation. And we should all be engaged in student achievements and proud of our success of our students. Together, we will celebrate at graduation for the part we all play in helping our students reach their academic goals. In order for us to collectively understand how to improve, everyone will need to be keenly aware of and focused on the student body we serve and become intentional in knowing why students are not being retained, learn from students that have been successful, and then find ways to provide the necessary tools students need to reach our high academic standards. And to that end, I will reconstitute the Graduation Initiative Committee to be chaired by the Interim Associate Vice President for Undergraduate Education, Dr. Trotter, and the Vice President for Student Affairs, Dr. Berenicia Ames. This committee will meet regularly and begin with understanding the work that has been done thus far. Further, they will take the lead on assisting us institutionally to become a data-informed action university that takes action for student success across the divisions, and where we will be measuring and acting on what matters to student academic achievement. Their charge will include providing information to help us understand who are our students, to know who we are admitting, examining our retention and graduation patterns, disaggregating student data to understand where we need to improve, working with our academic deans and chairs on retention and graduation rates in their colleges so that benchmarks and goals can be established, ensuring that all divisions, especially academic affairs and student affairs, are working together in alignment in student success initiatives. In addition, they will engage in a comprehensive inventory on student success initiatives across campus to determine their alignment and effectiveness and determine if benchmarks and assessment measures are utilized. Finally, they will provide opportunities for all of us as a university to come together as a community, to share data, discuss assessment measures, and discuss results, and learn about promising practices that are occurring across the university. I will also be asking the President's senior administrative team, that includes the Vice Presidents, the academic deans, and the Chief of Staff, to begin discussing how do we document and enhance our work regarding high-impact practices. The research conducted by Dr. George Koo, founding director of the Center for Post-Secondary Research at Indiana University and director of the National Survey for Student Engagement, tells us that if students are engaged in at least 2 high-impact practices, starting with 1 in the first year at the university, they retain and graduate at a higher rate than those that do not. High-impact practices include learning communities, writing intensive courses, engaging undergraduate students in faculty research, service learning, and internships in the major. We know these practices are occurring throughout the university, especially the very well-known work of engaging undergraduate students and graduate students in faculty research. The focus will be to document across the university how many of our students are engaged in these practices and determine if increased graduation and retention rates hold true for those engaged in these high-impact practices. And if so, how do we enhance successful high-impact practices for student success? If we find this is true for Fullerton, then our ultimate goal should be that every Fullerton student is engaged in at least 2 high-impact practices before they graduate. Our short-term goal, however, will be to establish a way of knowing, of documenting high-impact practices across the university, and to have means of implementing this documentation by March or April of 2012 in order to be able to inform the budget process for the following year. We have also already begun discussions with the interim provost and the academic deans to request that they work with the chairs of the departments to review the divisional and departmental retention and graduation rates. I know they're doing it, but in a systematic way across all campuses. Discussing, for example, barriers faculty identify, such as the gateway and bottleneck courses in their disciplines, and how we can provide the necessary tools and resources to help faculty to enhance the completion rates of their students in their courses successfully. And finally, number 3, promoting Titan Pride, friend-raising and fundraising. I have learned that we have a superb faculty who are cutting edge in their disciplines, who love the diversity of our students and engages our students in their love of learning and research. Teaching is central, but they engage both learning, service learning, and the service to our university. In one of the small faculty groups I am hosting in my office, one faculty member said it this way, and I quote, "Our students are very practical. But when we engage them in our discipline, research, and love of learning that we have, you see before you an intellectual spark which transforms the way they engage in their studies," unquote. We too have a staff that is committed to student success by the work they perform every day, by taking pride in our facilities, by counseling our students, and by ensuring essential student support services, and also by providing the best service to all who walk on our campus. And since our university sees learning as preeminent and is not afraid of preparing for change, we hold dear to Fullerton's values of academic excellence while adapting, understanding, and becoming flexible in learning, and how to educate and capture the intellectual imaginations of our diverse student body. Together, we need to complete our strategic plan, defining who we are, what makes us different from the 22 sister campuses in the CSU. By highlighting and providing evidence of the work that we do, we can then brand and, yes, market our institution. Not because we need more students, but because we need to tout and boast who we are externally to enhance and obtain a much higher profile in our communities, to raise public awareness of how integral we can be to our multiple communities through research-based community service, to be able to provide expertise to business, government, and nonprofit organizations, a well-educated young workforce who brings with them not only the academic intellectual capital Fullerton provides, but also today's new social capital of how the younger generation communicates, engages in their environments, and can help others. It is a win-win proposition for our students, our institution, and our communities. We need to demonstrate to our elected officials and external stakeholders the indispensable role of Cal State Fullerton in the area of economic development, intellectual capital, and workforce that we provide to Orange County and the state. And because of our commitment to excellence and awareness of our achievements, obtain the necessary resources to support faculty research, to support in student scholarships, and to have institutional vitality. Many faculty, staff, and alumni shared in the survey that we have not grasped the opportunity to brand and market the faculty, staff, programs, students, and successful alumni that we have. One stated it this way, and I quote, "One of the challenges we have struggled with is receiving recognition from the university's significant successes and accomplishments thus far. Faculty and alum have created illustration art for major franchises, worked on many major feature films and TV shows, have relationships with major studios, yet the school itself has failed to promote these successes," unquote. Another faculty member stated it this way, and I quote, "Success begins success. Frankly, we haven't been too good at tapping into the philanthropic nature of Orange County. Others have found a way to tap into the generous families and corporations and raise millions in donations annually. Partially, it is not as glamorous or snobbish to donate to a state school, but it needs to be. We put out better graduates and programs than private institutions, and we need someone who can figure this out in charge of fundraising," unquote. We have so many jewels on our campus, like these programs and so many others, that we need to make the entire university aware of, as well as our external audiences. The survey respondents encouraged me to engage with the multiple communities, reaching out intentionally and with focus to our alumni, elected officials, business and diverse communities, and expanding our friends throughout California. And while I do know we are engaged in our communities, we can do better by being intentional and focused with our engagements with purpose, utilizing our strategic plan. As you know, we have a search for a vice president for university advancement that our interim vice president, Bill Barrett, is chairing. While the search is in progress, it will give us the time to complete our strategic plan. Working with me in friend raising and fundraising will be a top priority for this new vice president, who will also be reaching out to faculty, staff, and alum to utilize our expertise in marketing and branding. And let me pause for a moment and thank Interim Vice President Terry Mendoza, who has been with us on loan temporarily from the Chancellor's office. I would like to publicly thank her for beginning this work with us and paving the way for a permanent vice president. So as your president, I will spend time internally and externally in our Orange communities and beyond to demonstrate and talk about our focused directions and sharing the wonderful accomplishments at Cal State Fullerton. I will need your help, the help of faculty, staff, philanthropic board, alumni organization, to open doors to individuals who will help us and be passionate and committed to our success. And allow me to close by providing a progress report on our provost search. Candidates have been asked to visit for interviews later this month. And I urge you to participate in the candidate forums and provide your input. I want to thank the committee and Vice President Amir Demirian for running that search. We also owe a debt of gratitude to Interim Provost Steve Murray for his willingness to delay his retirement, to continue to provide leadership in academic affairs as his wife is traveling and he is here with us having a great time. Our work together will be exhilarating, exciting, passionate, difficult, focused, intentional, and measurable. While managing our fiscal crisis together with a senior administrative team, the Academic Senate, the PRBC, and the ASI, we will place our priorities on those three areas: completing our strategic plan, setting our horizons, enhancing student success, and promoting Titan pride, fundraising and fundraising. The limited resources we have will be dedicated to these priorities in our planning process. I know that together we will accomplish so very much. I finish this address by sharing with you that I am deeply humbled and honored to serve as your president. I stand in awe of all of you. The faculty, the staff are second to none. We have alumni and philanthropic board volunteer partners who love this university. You should know that my presidential colleagues across the nation are envious of the diverse student body we serve and wish they could replicate this diverse community of difference. I know the privilege I have committed myself to in being your servant leader, working with you, listening and engaging all voices, and as a steward of our public trust, committing to the citizens of California that we will continue to uphold high academic standards, but challenging and helping our students to reach those standards. It is my responsibility to constantly remind us that we need to continue to provide a culture that ensures a welcoming environment for all involved, faculty, staff, students, and alum who live and work here, and encourage them to participate with mutual respect, positive energy, sharply focus on ensuring that Cal State Fullerton provides the world evidence that we will become, without a doubt, the comprehensive premier university in this nation. Thank you. I want to thank everybody involved in making this convocation possible. You know who you are. I know it was a lot of work. Dean Arnold, thank you for letting us use this space. And please join me in the reception in the lobby where I look to say hello to you in person. Thank you again.